Hi, and welcome back to another episode of
Not Life as We Know It.
Today's episode. I'm going to get into an interview that I did with my friend Richard. Now, again, we've already done some interviews on the anime side of the channel. And so before we begin, I want to remind everyone to go down below, click like, and click subscribe. Definitely every single time you put a like, it helps the YouTube algorithm figure out and recommend my videos and that kind of stuff. So definitely anything that you do like that would definitely help. If you have a comment or a story that you'd like to tell and add, maybe some questions and that kind of stuff, because I'm also always constantly collecting up responses for the questions and answers and that kind of stuff. Feel free to go down below and make a comment and that kind of stuff. That always, again, really does help. For those people who would like to support me financially, I also have the Super Thanks button, as well as the links to PayPal and Patreon down below. I do have a variety of different episodes available to the subscribers, as well as content that's not allowed to be on YouTube here. Due to the terms of service, of course. So then I will make that available to all the various Patreon members. I have compiled all the episodes of the History of Fan Anime, as well as the special subscriber episodes, all together into a big long spreadsheet. And it's basically sorted in a book-style format, so that if you want to look at a particular topic specifically, all the episodes are grouped together with the links and everything. You'll find it much more useful to use that database resource as opposed to trying to use a search engine on YouTube, because it's just, YouTube search engine is just not as effective as getting right to the information that you're looking for. Okay, so again, I invite you to do that. And again, I'd like to thank all the subscribers for your support. It really does help. And I'm going to get Richard to go through a bunch of various different topics and things that he is familiar with from his point of view. And without further delay, let's begin.
Okay, so I'd like to thank Richard for coming back on for some more interview. And from the previous videos, we had some questions that came up. And one of them was, you mentioned something about a credit score, or I know in China they have something very similar to like kind of a rating or a credit score. What did you think? Could you elaborate more on what you meant by some sort of people with a credit score?
So first of all, I don't profess to understand what the Chinese system is. I only got driblets and bits and pieces about what the system involves. But my understanding is, unlike our society, where in a free social democratic capitalist system, our ability to have earning power is based on merit. Education, networking, thank you. Standing in society, what church you belong to is simply, could be your peer group, could be a hockey team that you play in, after hours, whatever group you belong to, you're in network, and based on who you know and what you know, combination thereof, or even independently, even whatever school you graduated from, so whether you belong to a sorority or fraternity, there's different ways for you to get into the system to be able to prosper, right? It could be political party affiliation too. It could be the government of the day and whoever is dominating whichever party you are. Even with the opposition, you could, if you're associated with somebody in the union, you can still have some kind of credibility or status or standing that gets you to places where you want to prosper.
The whole that notion of it's who you know, right?
As well as what you know,
yeah.
But then what you know is based on what association you have.
Yeah.
Right? It could be a union, it could be a sorority or fraternity, it could be even the Freemasons. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay.
Unlike that, in China, it's all the party. It's either, from what I understand, it's either you know someone in the party or you don't. If you don't know somebody in the party at any level or in any way, shape, or form, even locally, even in the rural areas, you're screwed.
100%.
Right? If you don't know anybody, you're screwed. You're pretty well on your own. You have to know somebody in some way that's related to the government, because the government wants to have graft, or they want to have kickbacks or pork barreling or influence peddling, right? But that's the way their system works. Here, it's maybe not so blunt, it's more nuanced. And so the way they implemented overware was with a system where there's some database that ranks you that way relative to the system.
Assigns you a number.
Right. Like what George Orwell in 1984 portended, but much worse.
Yes.
Because it's all digitally managed in a database, and you have people that are overseers or have oversight on these people's standing. So I could be in China, it's like I could be that guy that's beating up all the Tai Chi people. Oh, no, lower that guy's social credit score because he's a troublemaker. Even though he is a really good MMA guy that can beat up people. No, we can't have that in the party. That's going to cause problems. Whereby some girl, oh, look at her, she's gorgeous. Hey, let's pass her around the party members, right? Who wants to sleep with her? And she's like, well, if you want me to sleep with you, you better up my score up there so that I have access to all my services and I get primo red carpet service for all these things. Like, okay, yeah, put her in the database and give her a score of this. And the more she sleeps with the party members, the more she'll go higher up. Whereby in the West, there's the casting couch in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Everybody knows about the casting couch. And how you're willing to play in that casting couch may guarantee how well you do in Hollywood or how poorly you do.
Well, yes,
right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more, quote unquote, nuanced, unofficial.
Yeah.
But everything is through the party in China. What is potentially to come in a nutshell is, who says they can't implement that in a social democratic capitalist, free capitalist system? Who says? We have the technology to do it. We have the surveillance technology to do it. And now we have the advent of, bleeding edge AI. Who says we can't do it? Infrastructure's there too.
Yeah.
They're probably even already using it, right? If you want to look at Canada, we have CSIS. If you want to look at the US, they have NSA, right? Or the CIA or any number of three-lettered agencies that do God knows what there, right? We have them here too, in Canada. Who says they can't implement it? They probably have all the technology in place to implement it. It's just that we don't know about it. They could be even already doing it. There's been things that have come out in the news, both in the US and Canada. Well, in Canada, look at the trucker convoy protests. How did they shut down these people's access to their funds at the bank so easily? Got to have something in place to be able to immediately do that, right? So who says they can't implement it?
Now in China, they have the system of where they've basically assigned social credit score numbers and stuff to people, and they use the surveillance to figure out where you are using the cameras and that kind of stuff. Use AI to identify your face, and then they can track you where you move. And then of course because you have to use various different things which are tied to your account number, they can know when. Where if you take transit, or if you've where you're making purchases and that kind of stuff. Do you think that sort of system is implemented here, or have they started doing that kind of a thing, or what do you think?
When the first check cards came out in the U.S. when I was down there in 2000, they implemented a chip. It's for your safety and security. The chip didn't do anything. Didn't ensure your safety and security. It was a chip that was used to monitor where you were located at any time and linked to a database of your purchases. It was really implemented for anti-terrorism, the beginnings of Homeland Security. Right? This was before 9/11. Right? And they were able to track all your purchases everywhere and where you were at any given time with that chip. Right? It was for law enforcement. So some of the people down there that got wind of this, it's like, oh, this card's easy. You don't have to go to the bank and fill out withdrawal and deposit forms and all this shit. Let's use these cards, these ATM cards, these check cards, which you could use. It was the first debit cards where you were actually debiting money from your account. That's why it was called a check card. But some of the smarter people realized, oh, this thing doesn't secure us. It doesn't prevent fraud. It doesn't prevent fraud on the Stripe for your code, your PIN code. It was purely for tracking. So what did the guys do? They used to take Dremels and used to drill holes right through that chip. And they still could use the card. It's just that nobody could track them anymore because they drilled the chip out. So they already had the technology starting by the time digital ways to digitize currency started about. Well, this isn't really digital currency, but it was digitized tracking of currency, a spending of currency, right? There was a debit and a credit account, and it was all tracked on these systems, right? These point of sale systems, these ATM systems that came about. So who says you can't track this person's, oh, look at this guy, he's constantly going and getting, going to the Thai massage parlor and spending his money. Oh, that guy's a troublemaker. He's promoting prostitution. We're going to lower his social credit score. But we don't rate it that way. We rate it that, oh, he's spending money on this credit card, up his credit score because he's spending money. He's paying his bills off. Well, unless he's a deadbeat and he's maxed out all his credit cards. Then we lower his credit score. But who says you can't change that credit score to be a social credit score based on his purchases? Like PayPal, right? PayPal doesn't like certain things transacted on their fintech system. Adult material, buying lots of fertilizer, buying bullets, guns, oh, I decided to get myself a tank, or whatever, right? No, we have ethical and moral standards to our transactions. Well, crypto was supposed to do away with all that so that your transactions, albeit on a ledger, is trackable, is not necessarily based on morality or ethics. It's just a transaction of currency, right? So they can implement it, but that's why crypto came about. It was so that you can circumvent systems like that. And that's why it's so dangerous.
So do you think that, and they always keep on calling, they always refer to this thing called dollarization, or some sort of implementation of some kind of digital currency. What do you think? Do you think that this is somehow maybe tied to that in some way, so that they can have better control digitally of your?
It will consolidate it, but they already have control. Look at what happened to the trucker convoys. Look what happened to the crowdsource funding. They cut those people off. Didn't take much. Well, it took a federal mandate, right, which they now have deemed it was inappropriate, right? But they did do a federal mandate and say, yeah, all you people, we're going to investigate you. There was a few hundred people that were part of this organizing of this trucker convoy protest to foment discontent and rabble-rousing. We're going to cut off their bank accounts. We're going to cut off any funds to them to allow them to do these activities. Well, how did they do this? Who knows? But they did it, right? Through this mandate, right? Through this federal emergency edict, right? Now that's what's scary. And so people are finding ways. But if you're talking about digital currency in general, it is already in existence. We have it in fiat, but their numbers in a computer somewhere or a database. Like you and me, we have bank accounts. Somewhere in a database, they know that we have this X amount of money. It is digital. It's not digital in the sense that it's not encrypted, where your transactions, albeit you can track it and you can identify them, you can't identify what they're using the money for.
Right, yeah, because they don't actually track
the transactions.
Yeah, they don't actually get
unless it's between two people where there's involving an exchange and a conversion to fiat, back to fiat, and then there's a exchange of monies for whatever transaction, and it's between that and then flipping back and forth to the crypto, right? So the premise of digital currency, whether you believe you're on the side of it that it's nefarious or subversive or it's insidious, or whether it's benevolent because it allows things to happen much quicker, it all depends on which side of the fence you stand on relative to ethics and morality, whether you're a good guy or a bad guy, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Money unto itself, in whatever form you're having as currency or means of barter or exchange, doesn't really matter. It's like electricity.
Yeah.
It's how you use it. You can use it to fry somebody in an electric chair, or you can use it to power some lights. Money's the same way. I can buy guns and legally buy guns on the secondary market with whatever currency I have, and then ship it to some warlord in Africa.
Right.
Or I can use it to start an orphanage for somebody in Africa. Depends on which side of the fence you're standing on. Maybe the guns are for the orphanage, for the kids to defend themselves, and the orphanage is for all the warlords and despots to hide. I don't know, you know. But the currency itself is not the focus. It's usually what it's being used for. So the more you can do transactions and the less that people can see what you're doing, the better. That's why they have money laundering. That's why they used to wash money, right? The criminals, right? The mob and the gangs, everything used to launder money. They had to make it come from a source that was more legit than from a source that was questionable, right? Like if you stole a whole bunch of money from a bank and they're all brand new, well, why are these bills so new? And how come you have so much of it? But what they used to do was launder it, make it look like it's worn and used and everything. Oh, no, this is old money. This is new money. So the source may not be questionable. Oh, no, we got it from a laundromat or a grocery store or whatever.
Yeah.
We didn't steal it all from the bank and their brand new notes, right? That's where the term money laundering came from, was when they used to have to wash the money and make it look like it was more used. Because some of the things that people don't remember is that money wasn't originally paper. In the US, money was actually made of cloth, but it was such a fine cloth that you couldn't tell. It wasn't actually paper, it was linen. It was a type of cloth. And so you could wash it and it would survive it. Now it's gone from a type of paper to a type of plastic, right? Right, or some synthetic now. But it used to be, money at one time was a type of very, very paper thin cloth. So you could wash it. That's why they laundered it, right? Now we just use that generic term to say, oh, we want to hide the true source of where this money came from. So getting back to the digital currency thing, are they going to implement? It's already been implemented at various levels. If you look at fintech is implementing digital currency. Nobody's dealing in cash. You got QR codes, you got it's all digital. Of course it's digital. It's just not currency in the sense of, oh, I'm going to give you a $20 bill, you give me some change back in coin. It's not that kind of currency, but essentially it is. It's a debit credit account based on various forms of fintech access to accounts. Whether it's your credit card, your debit card, and it's all on your apps, it's on your phone, it's on your card that you can tap or pin or stick in or swipe or whatever. It's still digital, right? If anybody uses cash, well, it's just bulky.
People who don't want to change the technology and, all the senior citizens hiding all the money inside their mattress type of thing, right?
We don't even know what's even hiding in our money now. If you have cash, even in the US for a time, it was discovered that even in money, in American money, there's a little wire in there that allows you to be able to track the money, that identifies the money. People don't know this. Even in American money, the real cash, there were ways to track, even our money now. There are ways that you don't know of, that the mint or the banks have ways to track your money. If you take out cash right now, there's a serial number, there's holograms, there's all kinds of stuff in that piece of plastic that can identify not only what kind of money it is, where it came from, when it was printed, all that information's in there based on that serial number, based on that hologram, based on all kinds of markers they put in there. Even your coins, they say it's metal. I don't know what's embedded in it. Maybe a chip, maybe. You go to the SkyTrain, you go take transit in the SkyTrain, you can get those temporary cards.
Yeah, the compass cards, yeah.
Those compass cards, those temporary paper ones, all have a little chip in it. And that chip has an expiry time. You can't see it. You see this piece of paper, sort of cardboard, but there's actually in each and every one of those temporary compass cards a little chip, right? But you don't know that. You're just, oh, it's just a piece of paper. I'm done with it. Throw it away. It's expired. But each time you're throwing that away, there's actually a little chip in there, in those cards. That's crazy. So if you dig up all these cards and you were able to audit those chips, you probably could find out where that person actually traveled everywhere. So if people are going to be paranoid about digital currency, well, then you better be paranoid about just about everything you use for fintech. whether it's your credit cards, your debit cards, your QR codes, your apps on your phone, everything. There is a way to track it. It's just that they haven't implemented it in such a way that they can base your status in society on it. But it's a credit score. But it's like, you got a crappy credit score, you're a loser. If you have a great credit score, you're not a loser. But they just now weaponized it in China to say that credit score is not just simply a high or low number. It's a variable number based on a whole bunch of other information that will determine your worth.
Right.
It's just not a singular number. It's a number that's, your connections to the party. Thank you. It's your connections to the party, your connections to your locale, your money, who certain associations you belong. It could be anything.
Yep.
You don't know.
I mean,
Even if you were one of these COVID people, well, it's a pretty daughter of some high-level party member. Give her a pass. But if you're a nobody in the middle of the country, we don't give a crap about you. We don't care what your social credit score is.
right.
If you're not connected to the party, your social credit score may be even worse than usual.
Okay, so again, we'll have to continue this interview in the next episode. So again, we've got to hit like and subscribe so we will get the more of those episodes when they come out, right? So until next time, I will see you again.